Hi, everyone. Hi, Taylor.
Hi,
Oh my God, we're live.
we're live. Welcome, everyone.
Taylor, this is the most I've seen you in a while. You're coming to me from
Dallas, Texas.
woo woo, and I'm in New York City, so we're representing lots of the
Different
lots of
regions.
the states here. Yeah, different regions.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us. In this session today, we're going to talk about ways in which you can improve your client experience and really eliminate hurdles to booking to try to get people to book as quickly as possible. We all know that's super important right now. Really quickly, just a little bit about myself. My name is Chris. I'm the director of accounts for Tripleseat. In my previous life, before I joined Tripleseat, I was an event manager for a national restaurant group based out of New York City. We were kind of small. We had about 25 locations. And we had about 6 managers working out of a corporate headquarters. So I've definitely been in your shoes. I've used Tripleseat, and I've obviously was a big fan of the product, and that's why I came to work for the company. And Taylor, how about you?
Yeah, so I am a regional account manager for Tripleseat. I oversee Central and Mountain regions, and I was previously a director of sales for a restaurant group here in Texas. I also oversaw Oklahoma and Florida, and then before that, I was a local sales manager for a restaurant group based out of Orlando. So definitely been in the industry for quite a bit and love being on the other side of events here at Tripleseat.
Yeah. So today we really just want to dive into some things, some trends that we're seeing right now, and the way that we think 2021 is going to go, just to try to have customers maybe introspectively look at their business, think of new ways in which they can do things, and maybe change some of their processes. So obviously, it's no surprise that if events have drastically changed. 2020 was a wash, so we're really looking to make big changes going into 2021. Taylor, what are some big things you've seen, ways in which events are changing?
Well, of course, we all know that consumer confidence is definitely lower because it's hard to tell if they're going to be able to even host their events, which that's a big deal, of course, for a lot of people. And then corporate events have changed big time. With that said, a lot of companies are going virtual. And you and I actually just talked about this. One of our
Yeah.
accounts, they actually pivoted. They were just a brick and mortar restaurant with a bar at the beginning. They're probably on this call right now, so shout out. But they completely pivoted to virtual chef experiences where they take chefs from all over the world and they incorporate food from the region that the chef is from. And then they do a live cooking experience where they ship the food to the clients and then discuss it as they're kind of going through. So it's an entire story, a whole experience, and they are killing it.
That's great. One of the
Yeah.
things that I think too, I think virtual events are here to stay, especially for 2021. What I've been talking to some customers and they were saying pharmaceutical dinners are really interesting. Right now, a lot of people are doing a hybrid model where they'll, so let's say that in your state, maybe your capacity is only at 50% right now. Let's say that your private dining room normally holds 30 people. So they'll do 15 people in person and then they'll do 15 people virtually and then sometimes they even ship the food to those virtual attendees. I think that's super interesting. And we know pharmaceutical dinners in general, people didn't know as loved having to travel. And so I think that might be something that stays.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think it's super smart to do.
Yeah. So let's talk about ways that we're seeing customers and ways that we think from our experience that you can improve your client experience. And so some of the things we're just going to touch on are improving lead response time, simplifying your email communication, streamlining menus and pricing, streamlining your contract process, accepting payments, etc. So let's dive right into some of these.
Let's do it. So improving response time to event inquiries is huge because obviously first come, first serve, right? I think the first thing that we need to start focusing on is ensuring that your lead form is simple and it's easy to fill out. I feel like the more questions you ask, the less likely the customer is going to actually complete it. And I am definitely a culprit of this. If it's too hard, I'm like, okay, on to the next. Omit unnecessary questions. You can handle that on the first call whenever you speak to them. Just let the inquiry come through to you and then you can do the work from there. And then Tripleseat actually allows you the ability to have an auto response email, which I love because instead of those blanket emails that just say, Thank you for inquiring. We'll be back with you. You can customize it to include sample menus. You can include links to photos, any additional info that you want them to have. Why not let them look at things before you're able to get back to them? So in this photo is an actual auto response that Tripleseat created. And then you can also, this is super smart, and I didn't think of this until you and I talked about it. You can create a secret landing page for events and put that in the auto response email. So that way it's a special private page specifically for those that you want to give sample menus to or photos, and you don't necessarily want that information to live on your website. So I loved that. I think that's just a great way for you to, again, get them that information immediately.
Yeah, I had a customer that did this and I thought it was super smart. They basically created a secret landing page that lived on their website. Mm-hmm. And so what they would do is they would put that URL in their auto response email that went out. So that means that you're not just putting your menus out there for the world to see on your website. You have to still submit an inquiry to get that information. But you're right, it's getting the client something immediately for them to look at and try to start thinking about ways in which they could build their event. I thought it's super smart. And that way you're still getting the inquiry. One of the things that I think a mistake that people make is, if you put all of your event menus online for people to look at, and then let's say that, I'm making it up, but let's say that your base menu price is $100. If somebody sees like, oh, the menu is $100, I can't afford that. They may walk away and not even submit an inquiry. But we all know, like, especially right now, you might be willing to go down to $85 on that menu, especially on, a certain night or an off-peak time. So definitely trying to make sure you're not providing too much information. You might be steering people away.
Yes, agreed. I love that. The last thing that we're going to talk about here in a little bit is creating auto tasks, which you can actually do in Tripleseat. And these are super efficient to remind you to follow up, because as event managers, our brains are all over the place. And so it's really helpful to be able to tie something back in to remind us, like, okay, we need to get back to these leads first.
Yeah. One thing that we forgot to mention, by the way, we just dove right in, but if anybody has questions, you can put them in the Q&A box. We actually have somebody who's answering questions as we go. They'll type in answers to your questions. And then at the end of the session, we'll also address any questions you guys have. We'll answer them live. Also, we are recording this session and we will actually be sending it out later. And we can share our deck as well. So if you want to take a look at it later. Sorry, the housekeeping stuff we forgot,
That's fine. We like to talk.
Taylor, tell us about how people can simplify their email communication, because this is one of my favorite stories from you and your previous life.
Yes. Okay. So number one, think of anything in your booking process that's overly complicated. So if you're looking at maybe how many pieces of communication are going back and forth before you even get to the actual booking, it's really clear that we all need to assess our own processes. So really take a look at that and see what can you actually adjust. And then what Chris is referring to is limit unnecessary information. So this is my pet peeve, is when people give me too many options that literally don't apply to me at all. So for instance, if I'm trying to book a brunch with my girlfriends on a Sunday for 10 people, and I get a blanket email reply that gives me every single menu under the sun, breakfast, lunch, dinner, brunch, reception. And then they're giving me room information for this grand ballroom for 100 people. That's great. This is all awesome. But A, am I able to get all of those menus for brunch? And B, can I afford to book your ballroom for 10 people? So it's just something to think about. If you can omit that unnecessary info and stuff that doesn't apply, it's going to make it a lot easier for the consumer to be able to sift through what's really required.
It's such an old school sales technique. I think that it came maybe from the hotel world, that they used to just send like a PDF booklet of like everything under the sun that they possibly offered. And it would be like 20 pages. And I have totally been in your shoes too, where I'm like, I don't want to, you're like putting the work on me as the customer. I have to like sift through 20 pages to figure out the one menu I can use.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not ideal. I mean, tailor it to my needs, literally tailor it to my needs. Okay. And then finally, make sure your email templates are clear and concise. So for instance, the one on the left here, make sure that items are easy to find, your minimums, your space information, additional pricing. We talked about, we'll talk about here in a minute, putting taxes and fees actually into this email template so that there's nothing hidden and people aren't confused after the fact. And then next steps for securing the event. So making sure that the bottom of that email has an action item so that it makes sense for them to move forward with that booking.
You're 100% right. Tripleseat did a last year, well, actually before last year, we did a survey with event planners, so people who actually book events, for corporate event planners. And one of the big things that they said is they can't stand it when taxes and fees are hidden, because of course they're working with a corporate budget that it's really important that they meet. And so they, right out the gate, they're like, just send me a proposal. I want to see all the taxes and fees that are included. I need to know that I'm all in at my budget. So I thought that was really interesting feedback, to just like send me a proposal with the breakdown of pricing so I can, it's totally transparent.
Absolutely. And you can do that with Tripleseat. You can have a completely separate proposal that doesn't require a signature. So it's very helpful.
Totally. One of the things that I want to jump in is ways to streamline your menus and pricing. And I think now more than ever, I think it's going to be important for us to just streamline the process and make it easy for people to book. Some common menu mistakes are just too many options when it's really hard to sift through, like we just talked about. If you have, whether that be multiple menus or too many items on one menu. If you look at the menu on the right in the example, I think this one is laid out really simple and easy to understand. We just have a few options to choose from under each of those for a prefix menu. One common mistake, and it's in this sample menu that's on the right, are confusing item descriptions. So if we look at the very first item, it's a chopped Union Square salad, and it says the description is Meyer lime dressing or Meyer lemon dressing. So literally customers might be like, but what is in that salad? What is it? And so that's just additional communication that you now have to do back and forth. Hey, I'm maybe interested in that salad. What is it? So just making sure that your item descriptions are clear and concise and people understand what they mean. One of my pet peeves are missing signature dishes. So if your venue is known for one specific thing, and that's like the hot thing that makes everybody want to come there, make sure that you have that as an option for your event clients. And if you can't do it because maybe it's just such a special thing, one of my favorite experiences, there was like this massive big fortune cookie they would do. It was like a fortune cookie sundae, and it had like the like tag, that came out and you could read your fortune. But they wouldn't do it for events because it was really large and it needed to be served family style, and family style right now may not be an option with COVID and all of that. So I think it's really important. They actually started doing little mini options specifically for events. And what's really funny, it actually became such a cool thing that then people were taking photos of the mini ones, that then all the customers were coming and being like, oh, I saw you have a mini version of it. So it's just you should definitely make sure you have your signature dishes.
I agree. That's super smart.
Yeah. Another one of the things, I think beverage packages can be super confusing, especially when you have tiered liquor packages. I think the average consumer doesn't know the difference between they probably know the difference between a well liquor and a premium, but they may not know that mid-level liquor. So I think trying to just scale back your beverage packages and making it really clear what people can get within that is important. My big piece of advice for that would be, the thing that I see that works best for people is just have a medium tier liquor. And then if people want premium liquor, that's just on consumption. I think that's probably the easiest. So we see a lot of people doing just maybe wine and beer, and then they have another package for liquor. And then if you want premium liquors or anything else, consumption. The last thing I want to talk about is exactly what we kind of touched on, is when those hidden taxes and fees or confusing add-ons and substitutions. I know this is that bothers you too.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're looking at a menu and let's say you have a chicken, a fish, and a steak, but then you want to add Wagyu or something different, and then it's $15 additional per person, and then is it for just that person that's ordering, or is it all people? Just whatever that menu includes, have that price be part of that menu versus doing all these different add-ons and people are trying to figure out what it costs per person, and then you have like 10 different prices. It's confusing for you and it's confusing for your client.
Yeah, totally. All right, let's talk about contracts. So now more than ever, contracts shouldn't be intimidating. We want to try to make the level to entry as easy as possible, get them in the door, get them booked. So of course, on the left, we have an old version of a contract. I think that one of the things that private dining we like basically learned from weddings, which we all know weddings are like 7-point font. They might be 4 pages long. And I think we all adopted that to private dining because we thought we need everything under the sun to protect our venue. My favorite is like the glitter clause. You can't bring glitter. Don't do it. And I think that we kind of need to go back to basics and just really streamline that process and think, you know, maybe all I need is you to guarantee your guest count. You got to hit my food and beverage minimum, and you got to get my cancellation policy. So we're just seeing that a lot of customers are really trying to streamline their contracts, make them a lot easier to read and a lot less intimidating for people to book. And on that note, simplifying your cancellation terms and multiple deposits, they kind of go hand in hand. So we're seeing that a lot of customers are really trying to tweak their force majeure clause to try to protect both the venue and the client as it relates to COVID or the potential of other, you know, viruses or things that might come about in the future, or if we had like another outbreak, God forbid. So I think that people are really trying to put that in their force majeures. The one on the left is a really great example. You can read through it later if you want to look at our deck, but it basically just, it makes, if you're the client, you feel like it's protecting you. And if you're the venue, you feel like it's protecting you. And I think that's exactly what you should have in a force majeure. It basically says if the CDC for any reason says that there are limited capacities or whatever, that, you know, you can reschedule your event or we'll refund you. Right. The other thing, obviously, is just decreasing your deposits. So whether that means that you used to charge a 50%, taking that down to a 25%, a lot of customers, what they were really afraid of is the fact that if they gave you a 50% deposit, and then if your venue might have gone out of business due to COVID, they were worried, like, I'm not going to get my 50% deposit back because they're now out of business. So I'm screwed. So I think that's what people were worried about. So if you could maybe lower your deposits, or if you used to take multiple, just taking one.
Yeah,
trying
simplify.
To find ways. Yeah. And all of this, obviously, like if you're a restaurant group, I'm sure you're going to have to run all of this by legal or talk to your operating partners or whatever. But I do think it's important just to try to lower those levels to entry so that people just feel more confident in booking and they're less worried about it.
I agree.
Great. Talk to us about accepting online payments.
Yes. So with everything that Chris was saying, simply put, no one has a fax machine anymore. They don't want to have to print, manually fill out, sign, and then send back the credit card form. So number one, accepting online payments is expected. It's just standard these days. Number two, it's safe, it's PCI compliant, it's professional. And Chris, I know that you have a story about some maybe non-PCI compliant ways that you might have handled business in the past.
Yeah. You know, in my former life, like my accounting department was always fighting me. They didn't want to take online payments. They were like, the fees are too high. We can get better rates in our brick and mortar. We don't want to do it. And so we did that for a while. And then unfortunately, we had it was actually a buyout client. It was a corporate customer that spent a lot of money with us. They bought out our venue. It was an expensive, I think it was like a $75,000 event. And the EO with a credit card happened to be laying around, and a server definitely got it. And because it was a corporate card, the limit on the card was really high. And they used that card for a couple months before anyone found out. And of course, then you're looking at like this customer, of course, was really upset, which they had every right to be. And they wanted to blast us on social media, and they were threatening to sue us. And so, I mean, which was really nutty. And all of that was to say, then the accounting department was like, oh my God, the 1% extra that we have to pay to make everything PCI compliant is 100% worth it. Switch it all over right now. So I think it's just a really good way to like, you think it's too late until it happens.
Yep.
It's too high until it happens.
Don't let it happen. So like we talked about, fewer obstacles in that booking process. This is one of them. Something else to note, and we put some notes in this little red box for you. Know that, so Tripleseat integrates with Stripe and Card Connect. So if you are going to negotiate your rates, you need to know what your current processing rates are and know that every rate that you're comparing is going to be card not present, which is going to be higher than your current card present brick and mortar rates. So that's just something you need to know when you are comparing rates. And then you'll also want to just know your annual event revenue total so that they can actually help you negotiate based on how much money you're taking in. So just a quick, easy, helpful hints for you if you are working through this process.
Yeah, good stuff.
So with that said, we're now going to streamline, we're going to go into streamlining your process as sales manager. So things that we're going to talk about, we touched on before, automatic and manual tasks. We'll talk about building your contracts and BEOs more efficiently. Content templates are included with that, creating efficient email templates and all. And then super important, especially right now because of furloughs and a lot of turnover, improving your team communication. This is going to be huge moving forward.
Yeah, I think all of this is going to be really important for people because a lot of people that I've been talking to, their teams just aren't as big anymore. So, maybe you used to have a team of 4 doing that, selling your 10 event spaces, and now you're down to just 2. So like every single minute that you can become more efficient is overall going to help you.
Agreed. I have a lot of friends that are going through it right now. So I hope this is helpful for them too.
Yeah.
So about tasks. Manual tasks are actually things that are needed on the fly or specific to each event. So you can actually set manual tasks for yourself. This is showing you an example. So things like this would be maybe getting menu selections or, reminder to get the floor plans, anything that's going to replace those Post-it notes that might be displayed all over your computer as we speak. And then automatic tasks. So these are reminders to automatically follow up on things such as leads, number 1, maybe tentative events that you're needing information for to move forward with confirming the definite. And then Chris, I know your favorite, annual rebookings. You want to talk a little about that?
Annual rebooking. You can create it as an automatic task. And what's so great about it is you can set the trigger to be, I'm making it up, but like a lot of people will say, I want this to trigger like 340 days after that event last year turned definite. So the real benefit to that is you're hitting them in their booking window, which is super important, right? So a really quick story is when I used to be an event director, I didn't know about this. And we used to basically just run reports for all the events to book last year. We'd hand it out to the team, so we're getting ready to call everybody for rebooking Q2, and we'd start reaching out to them in March. So we're hitting them the end of Q1. But what's really dumb is some of those customers that we were calling for April events, maybe they had booked in January. So we already missed their booking window. It was totally a missed opportunity. So what's really great if you're using auto tasks for that is you're hitting them when they inquired last year, ideally. And so you're getting them right into that sweet spot of booking.
Love it.
Great. I want to talk to you about how long does it take to build a contract. So ideally, it should take less than a minute to build a contract. I completely understand maybe if you're a wedding venue, those can be a bit more intense and you might have multiple sets of terms you're including or different packages. But overall, it should take you about a minute. So I want to show you 2 ways in which maybe you can streamline that process. And this is something that one thing that me as a former Tripleseat user, I wish I would have thought about or known when I was using Tripleseat. So on the left-hand side, this little video is showing you that you could actually create event templates for specific type of events that you host really often. So in this example, it's like a bottle service. So let's say that we do, I have a lounge, I do bottle service agreements, and it's 10 people, and it's always the same thing. All the details are the same. All the charges are the same. I'm really just putting in a guest count and that's it. So what you can do is you can create that as an event on your calendar, name it bottle service template or bottle service event sample. And then what you can do is you can still convert your lead as normal, or you could go right to the calendar and create a new event. And then you can copy the documents that exist on that event sample, and you're copying them intact with all the line charges and everything already in it. Or of course, you could go to that sample event and just copy the whole event and then just tweak it. So that's a great way that you can save time and already have all the information in the document. The other thing that I want to talk about, which is the photo that's on the right-hand side, is streamlining your event requirements. So especially for a lot of older Tripleseat customers that have been with us a while, we sometimes find they've gone down rabbit holes of custom fields, and we'll log on to their event details page and they have like 20 custom fields that they have to complete before they even get to building out the contract. So if you're looking at this screen, if you're looking at this photo, we can see like they have multiple deposits, which maybe that's totally fine. That makes sense. But you can see we also have some other rates and charges down below that. We have a contract price per person, an overtime rate, additional charges. This particular customer actually has way more custom fields. So it's just an area to maybe streamline those fields that you don't need anymore. Let's think about our process. Let's think about the hurdles, getting rid of some of that stuff, because every time you have to create those, if that takes 5 more seconds to fill in those fields, and then you multiply that by how many contracts you're creating a day, it's clearly a lot of time that maybe you don't need to waste.
I agree. It definitely is harder on us to fill those out versus going ahead and putting the contract together to send out to the guests. So
yeah, totally.
So with that said, I actually didn't know about these bad boys until I left, but building content templates are amazing for all of those repetitive items that you find yourself constantly typing over and over and over again. So these are often used for maybe common setup types, pharmaceutical for one, billing information. So maybe you want to put in your billing notes, present check or do not present check. You can actually drop those in as templates. Floor plans, which is actually what this quick video is showing you right now, which I thought was super cool, that you can actually put a floor plan into your contract and into your BEO for your team. And then alternating terms and conditions. So we kind of talked about this a little bit before when we're streamlining our process, but another thing you can do is you may have specific terms and conditions for wedding versus corporate events. Instead of having different sets of documents for each, you can still have one set of documents, but then you can essentially drop in these templates based on the terms and conditions that work for that event. So I definitely wish I knew about these before. It would have saved me a lot of repetitive time and copying and pasting from my random Word documents.
Yeah, the best practice here is anytime you find yourself, if you're writing or typing the same thing over and over and over, talk to Tripleseat. We can probably find a way to streamline that process and help you out. So either talk to the support team, your account manager, anybody. I would like to talk about creating efficient email templates. So this is another opportunity that when I was an event manager, I didn't fully utilize. So as you can see in this photo on the left, we're basically utilizing Tripleseat's merge fields to fill in as much information as possible, such as the person's name, the type of event, where it's being hosted, the guest count, F&B men, etc. You can see we're also preloading in some photos. In this example, I'm preloading in, links to things I want to share with them. Maybe that's menus, maybe it's a list of questions, maybe it's my valet instructions. It could be anything like that. So the real benefit to these templates is if you preload all of that stuff into the template, then, and I don't have to attach it every single time. Again, maybe that's saving me 5 seconds per email that I send, but that's all going to add up really quickly. The other thing that's great is these templates are great on the go. So if you're running around the venue, these are super easy to send straight from your phone. And of course, when you're using the template, you can still, freehand type whatever you need to, or delete some of that stuff. If you don't want to send the wine list, you could clearly just erase it. I recommend sending templates for creating templates, for specific spaces or reservation types, maybe like that bottle service thing that we were talking about earlier. Obviously, having templates for when you send proposals and contracts with steps of what they need to do. Final detail questions that maybe you need to finalize your BEO. And my favorite one is obviously a thank you template that thanks them for hosting their event, sharing their final invoice with them, and you might even have like a link to a survey in there that you'd like them to complete. Oh, and of course, my favorite, rebooking last year's event. So if you had that task that we talked about earlier, I would absolutely have a template that that is for this year about rebooking that event. So, it auto fills in. I know you hosted your event last year with us on, X date. this is our new offerings we have this year. We have some new menus. We just redid that room. Here's what the photos look like, etc.
Love it. Easy. Okay, so now we're going to touch on the improving team communication portion that we talked about before. So we'll go through exporting your Tripleseat calendar, and then Chris will walk us through creating weekly digest emails to make you look like a superstar. So exporting your Tripleseat calendar. I did not utilize this until probably much later. I know, we're the worst. Myself and actually some of my fellow sales managers, we used to create calendar invites for events, and then we would copy and paste event docs and or attach them to the calendar invites. We just made our lives so much harder. And it was just, we didn't know it was so easy that you could literally export your Tripleseat calendar directly onto your Outlook or your Gmail, and then it updates in live time. It syncs for you. So it's perfect for on-the-go access. You don't have to log in to even look at your docs, which I thought was so cool. So this is showing you an example, a screenshot of actual documents linked. You can click on them. They'll pull up directly on your phone, your iPad, etc. And then it's also, events should not be a surprise. So this is going to be a way to help inform your entire team, especially those that you're having difficulties with getting them to log in, chefs. Exactly. Yeah, so my suggestion is let Tripleseat do the work for you. That way you're not ever having to miss anything else because your calendar live syncs. It's there.
Yeah, one of my favorite things with this is chefs. We all know, many times I find that a chef may not be the most tech savvy. I feel like so many times they were like, I don't know my login to Tripleseat and da 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 da. This is perfect because if they do the calendar export, you're meeting them with whatever medium they use. Mm-hmm. So if they use Outlook or Google Calendar, it's going directly to whatever they look at every day. And in this example, just like you said, we're auto sharing whatever docs we wanted. It could be the kitchen sheet. And then that way, straight from the chef's calendar that they use, they can click on that link and see the kitchen sheet. And the great thing too is they don't have to know their Tripleseat login. It's literally taking them to a public page so they can print it right from there. And if they don't know their login, it's fine.
All right, computer, being slow. Here we go.
I want to talk about creating weekly digest emails. So this was my big thing too. So on a Friday at 5 p.m., my operations team, so I managed 5 different restaurants, and they wanted me to send a 2-week upcoming forecast to them every week. So Friday at 5, I just send them the next 14 days, all the events that were on the books, all the BEOs. It was a lot. It was a lot of work. I used to do that manually. I used to copy paste from my Tripleseat calendar into my email. And I wish I could have all those days back, because if I would have known about this, it would save me a ton of time. So in your profile section, you can create a weekly digest email. Example of how that comes to you in your email. So you can see it basically lists out all of the events. It has links to them, the dates, the times, etc., where they're being hosted. So what's really great is you could get this as the event manager. And then what I would do is add a column over here, like on the right-hand side for notes. And you could very quickly type in notes like, this is a VIP guest, or maybe the BEO changed since I last sent it, or whatever, and then just forward it to your team. And it's awesome. You will look like a rock star, and because it looks like you did a ton of work, but in reality, Tripleseat really did a lot of the work for you. Yeah. And you can auto send it every Friday at 5 if you want. So then it comes into your email. You make some quick changes to it, and then you forward it off.
Amazing.
So the last thing that we want to talk about is Tripleseat's newest feature, which is called DirectBook. It's basically a way to create, it's really similar to like an e-commerce site. It's a way that you could put a link on your website that would allow customers to directly book specific types of events with you that might not need a lot of planning. They're typically really easy to execute. They have just a few options, and the customer can basically select their options, and then it would come to an event manager for approval. So it's just a really great way to streamline your event process. Me personally, I could see this being super beneficial for main dining room group reservations. So if, maybe groups between 12 and 20, they can't just book a regular a la carte reservation because they're too hard to accommodate 20 people ordering a la carte. So maybe you require them to use a prix fixe menu. You have two options, pretty straightforward. They just put how many people they have and which menu they have. This is a great option. So let's go ahead and take a look.
Yeah. So I think I'm echoing. So maybe, Chris, do you want to walk them through?
So you're not echoing to me, Taylor?
Oh, I'm not?
No.
Oh. Okay. Maybe it's just me. Oh, it says your mic is interrupting. Hard to hear. Let's see what Lauren's typing. Sorry, guys. Technical difficulties. Just a moment.
That's why we do that. Maybe it's these bad boys.
It might be those bad boys. Am I still echoing or am I good? Team, anyone?
You're good. No more echo.
Great. Awesome. Okay. Fabulous. So Chris, it was probably your fun earbuds. He's going to change over. So what he was talking about, what we're looking at right now is an example, of course, of a lead form embedded on a website. You can actually add in a DirectBook link, just like you would have your lead form, but they can physically book directly through your website. And so right now we're going to click on the events, catering and events tab. So this is the client-facing experience. So this is what they're going to see whenever they pull up the DirectBook link. We're going to click on premise. All right, and now we're just going to select our venue. They can go through, select a room. And then we can put in the number of people. We can put in the date, which is going to live sync based on the availability of your Tripleseat calendar. And then the time frame as well, same thing. All right. And then from there, we're going to actually go in and select our menu or package, depending on what it is you're selling. And then once we select that, we can actually go in and create specific menu selections based on that package or menu. So Chris is just going to pick some random items for us, which I'm sure are all super delicious. He has really good taste. All right. And then from here, you would essentially have them complete the booking and pay online. So obviously we're not going to physically pay on here, but Chris is going to walk you through the back end of what was just now created through a Tripleseat site example. I cannot hear you. Okay. But you look great. Maybe try it without your headphones. Just computer audio. No. Okay, that's okay. So what you're seeing right now is a dashboard example of what DirectBook events would look like on your dashboard. So Chris, if you could scroll down just a little bit. So as you can see, that direct booking that the client just filled out now shows up on your dashboard. It gives you the date, the time, the guest count. You can actually go in, look at this information, see if it makes sense for your venue, and then you can choose to either accept or reject based on what information that they've input. It's going to create live or automatic documents for you. So it essentially takes all the work out of it. It creates your BEOs. The payments are in there for you. So you can look at the payments tab. You can have the deposit charge, or you can charge the full amount. So there's so much usability with DirectBook, and I feel like this is going to really just elevate the experience for the Tripleseat user and for your customers. And guys, it's easy money. It's a simple fill out a form, here's your payment, accept or reject, and move on. Is there anything else I should touch on with this form? No, we're good on that. Okay. Well, since poor Chris is having technical difficulties, should we go ahead and maybe answer some questions with the last few minutes that we have? Are there any new questions? Okay, if using DirectBook, if a guest books a certain room or time, will that booking be blacked out from another guest booking over the same time slot? As long as you hit accept, it will block out that time frame. So if you're not accepting or rejecting and it's just living there, then it's similar to a prospect, right? You can allow to have more than one prospect at the same time. Thank you, Lauren. All right. Any other questions you have? Well, I'm sorry we lost Chris, but happy that everyone was able to join us. I know we only have about a few minutes. Oh, we've got another one. Oh, this is a great question. So yesterday's webinar, they talked about DirectBook, but when Lauren went to turn it on, there wasn't access for her venue. So to add this to your venue platform, you can actually reach out to your account manager directly, or you can also chat into support and they'll be able to add that to your platform. Just note that you do need to have payment integration. You're not able to utilize DirectBook without payment integration. So that's something to keep note of. Can a person be notified when a payment is made online? Are we referring to the client or the user? That might be a question for offline. It looks like Lauren's going to go ahead and answer that one. All right, well, I think we're probably good on here. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to support@tripleseat.com. We can also get you in contact with your account manager as well. I know that I'm fairly new, so I haven't been able to meet a lot of you amazing accounts, so I'm super excited to get to know everyone. Oh, Chris is coming back on. Chris, can you hear us? Okay, maybe not. All right, well, I think we're good. We're probably going to go ahead and sign off here now. Just remember that this is being recorded, so if you ever do want to reference anything, we'll have the recording available for you. And again, if you have additional questions, please reach out to support@tripleseat.com. And thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. All right, everyone have a great day.